Hello and welcome to Asia Gaming Brief's face-to-face series. Today I'm talking with Tina Sablan, who is the Democratic representative in the Commonwealth of Northern Mariana Islands. We're going to be talking about the latest developments in the saga of Imperial Pacific International, which this week won a temporary restraining order against a hearing that was to decide whether or not it would be stripped of its license. Welcome, Tina. Thank you very much for joining us again here from Saipan, I believe you are today. Is that right?
Actually, on the island of Rota in the Northern Marianas.
Very nice indeed. Well, we're asking you to come and have a chat with us to talk about what's been happening at Imperial Pacific. We know that there was supposed to have been a meeting this week that was supposed to have decided whether or not to revoke their casino license, and that has been postponed yet again. Can you update us?
Sure. So yes, as you mentioned, the Casino Commission was all set to conduct its revocation hearing. This was a hearing for the Casino Commissioners to consider whether to revoke IPI's exclusive casino license. And that was supposed to be on Tuesday. And then on Monday, the day before the hearing, IPI filed in federal district court a motion for a temporary restraining order against the Casino Commission, and the court granted it.
So it was against them losing their exclusive casino license. Does that mean that you would just open up to more operators, or that they would lose their license completely?
You mean are you asking about the purpose of the Casino Commission's hearing on Tuesday? Okay. No, it was to revoke the license completely. And so just for some background, this is following on really months, years of IPI's breaches of the casino license agreement as well as Commonwealth law. And in April 2021, the Casino Commission finally, after multiple complaints had been filed by the executive director and after hearing, the Casino Commission voted to suspend the license. And then IPI appealed in November of 2021 to the Commonwealth Superior Court. And in March of this year, so just a couple of months ago, the Superior Court affirmed the Casino Commission's order suspending the license. And shortly after that, the Casino Commission filed additional complaints, basically updating the previous complaints that had been filed because the breaches continued. IPI has continued to fail to pay, for example, the license fee, the regulatory fee. There have been multiple breaches. And then the executive director moved to revoke the license. And that was what the casino commissioners were supposed to hear on Tuesday.
And so what's the next step now?
Well, because the district court has granted the temporary restraining order against the Casino Commission, everything stops. The Casino Commission is supposed to file a response to IPI's motion, and there's going to be a hearing in the federal district court on June 2nd. And that would be on whether there will be a preliminary injunction granted. And so that stops all of the enforcement actions that the Casino Commission was poised to take. IPI is asserting force majeure defenses and also seeking the court's assistance in compelling the Casino Commission to go into arbitration rather than revoking the license.
How frustrating is this for you as a legislator on Saipan wanting to develop tourism? And
I mean, it is incredibly frustrating. I think it's frustrating for most residents of the CNMI, most citizens that have been just appalled by IPI's constant failures to uphold their end of the agreement. There have been so many violations of CNMI law, federal law, and of course the casino license agreement, and also a frustration, I think, with the Commonwealth government and the regulatory authority to really hold IPI accountable and enforce the terms of the agreement. So, now that we finally seem to almost be coming to the end. There's another wrench that's been thrown into this, and it just seems like this never-ending saga.
It does indeed. I think one of the reasons that the judge gave for granting this order was that IPI has said that it's got access to, I think it was 150 million more in financing. How confident are you that this will actually materialize?
All I can really say about that is that this isn't the first time that IPI has said financing is imminent, the money will come. When exactly, who knows? I mean, we've heard this before. We've actually heard even that exact amount before. This was I would say, maybe a couple of years ago at this point, when IPI was telling the legislature that they expected $150 million financing to suddenly materialize, and then they'd be able to restart and complete the project. So we've heard this before. And, it's been really since the beginning of this whole project, it's been this litany of lies. And I'll believe it when I see it. I'm amazed, frankly, that IPI seems to be really good at getting one last chance, and there have been so many last chances that have been afforded to this company, and I'm hoping that we will see the end of this ultimately, and all the powers that be will eventually say enough is enough.
Do you think 150 million is enough to complete that project?
No, I'm very skeptical that 150 million will be enough to make IPI whole. They owe everybody, the CNMI government, they owe vendors, they owe workers. My understanding is that there are other debts outside of the CNMI that remain to be paid, and so, like, one is just satisfying all these obligations and all the judgments, that have been awarded against this company. There are other lawsuits that are waiting to still, be resolved, and that could be, more liability for IPI. And we haven't even begun to talk about how they're going to hire the workforce that's needed to complete construction, and where are they going to get the financing for that? They still haven't paid all the workers that came before, and I'm very, very skeptical about this latest promise.
Do you have other potential investors who might come in and take over either the casino or set up their own projects were IPI to be booted out?
I am not aware of any serious prospects. There are politicians, some of my colleagues, who claim that there will be serious investors that will come forward once the CNMI has completely disentangled itself from IPI. I do have very deep concerns about the viability of the gaming industry in the Commonwealth, and I think that we really need to assess that feasibility. Do we really want a casino gaming industry in the Northern Marianas? Two, what should that industry look like? And what size of an industry would make sense for the Commonwealth? And also, there's a question of how viable the structure itself, the casino resort, which is still unfinished in the middle of our tourist district, whether that's even structurally viable. And these are just some of the questions that I think we need to answer before we start talking about, are there serious investors out there and anybody that wants to buy this casino? I think we need to take a step back and really assess our position and the desires of the community.
And you mentioned that you're not even sure about the viability of casino gaming on Saipan. Obviously, the market has changed considerably since this casino was conceived. It was very much targeting the premium Chinese customer. Very unlikely they're going to get them now. Who do you think that they could get who might be able to fill? I mean, what's your main concern over the feasibility here?
Yeah, I mean, so that first issue, whether we'd be able to even reopen the CNMI to Chinese tourism is very much in doubt. I mean, we hear from pretty credible sources that the CNMI is on China's blacklist, and we, even when China reopens, we may not have access to Chinese tourism, and so who will come to gamble in the Northern Marianas? I mean, maybe there's some hope of gamblers from Korea, but certainly there are plenty of competitors in the region that we should consider, and then I often go back to the will of the people, and it's really difficult for me to forget how casino gaming was legalized on Saipan over the objections of the people who voted twice now, who voted against legalization of casino gaming here, and I think that this actually in some ways could be a blessing in disguise, because it affords us the opportunity to really consider seriously the direction that we want to go. And, so one, assessing whether that structure is viable, whether it can even be completed. And then two, how we extricate ourselves from this mess that we have on our hands now with IPI. And then three, do the people of the Commonwealth want casino gaming to continue? And if the answer is yes, what does that look like? And how can we make it make sense and comport with our laws and be a better model for compliance and for tourism development than what we've seen thus far with IPI.
It's not going to be the great white savior that everybody thought when they came in. I can't remember their initial plans. I seem to remember they upped their investment pledge to about $7 billion. Is that right?
Right. And yeah, there were all kinds of grandiose promises, and a $7 billion investment was part of it, right? That was on the table. And I wouldn't say everybody believed that. I certainly didn't at the time. But there were some high hopes that this would be the economic savior of the CNMI. And for a time, it seemed like there was a lot of money coming in to the CNMI. But here we are, 6 years later, so almost 7 years later, and what do we have to show for it?
A falling down building, I think. Thank you so much for joining us, Tina. That's great to hear your views again. And I'm sure we'll have you back when we've got some further developments to talk about.
Thank you for having me back, Sharon. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today. Please tune in every Friday for our interviews with thought leaders in Asia's gaming industry.